Okay, this instructional video is to show you how to take apart the Best Massage model BM-EC77. This model here. If you were lucky enough to get one for the holidays or Christmas, you may have found out that it's a little too wide to fit through most of your doorways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take the arms of this chair off. As you can see, the arms of the chair are currently off. I have them on the floor here and waiting to be reinstalled. So I will show you what I did in order to take this apart to fit through a narrow doorway, which was about 30 inches or so, a little too narrow to fit this chair through in its entirety. There are bolt holes that hold hex bolts, this location here, here, and here. And then on the other side, they are here, 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 and there's only three, or actually there's four on this side. So here's the other bolt here. You do need a Allen key or a hex wrench. I'm using this size here. It is 7/32, and that's just to show you what I'm using. The other tool you'll need is a screwdriver, just a Phillips head screwdriver. So in order to expose the bolts from the inside, in order to take that off, there is a skirt that's in the way of your bolts. So you'll have to remove the two screws in each corner, here and here, here and here. So once you remove them, you'll be able to pull the skirt back to expose the bolts from the inside and to be able to remove those bolts. And there. So now, before you remove your side panels for your arms, you'll want to disconnect your air. There's an air here that connects right to the door, to this tube here, and also to that blue tube there. So there's one on either side, one here, and then this connects also. So you'll have to find where your air holes are and connect each one accordingly. I'll show you what the finished product looks like. And then when I took the two side panels off, they weren't installed when the chair came. So I had to take those off, and now I'll have to reinstall them. So just to show you how much of a difference it makes with the two arms off, we were able to easily move this into this room with only a 30-inch doorway. So what I'll do is I'll reinstall the panels, and I'll show you a little bit of that once I get to that step. So here we go. Okay, to this part now, here's the side arm panel. The blue tube here will connect to this Tygon air tube here. Now you can see on the panel of where it lines up, there are indentations that'll show you how to line your door panel up. This indentation here will line right up against the corner here. So without mistake, you'll know that your bolt holes are in line if you have this corner matched up with this corner here. So I always like to line it up. I'm not going to connect the air holes until I install my panel, only because I may need to move it around and I don't want to be restricted by this. So just one second and I'll show you. Just to show you, these are the bolts that you'll be working with. So on this panel, on this side, there's 4 bolts, and then there's 4 bolt holes. So we will line the panel up accordingly, and then line the bolt holes up and make sure that they're straight and everything is the way that it should be in order to reinsert the bolts into the bolt holes and reinstall this panel. Okay, just to show you, I want to show you that, well, I don't know if you can see that properly. I'm not very good at this. I just wanted to make this video because I found that there were none out there. So I had to kind of do this by trial and error. So maybe if I show you this side, we could show you where the bolt is. So I'm just going to point. This is the bolt that I started first, the bolt on this side. So I had to lift it up just a little bit off the floor in order to have that bolt catch. But once it caught, it was fairly easy. So at this point, I'm just going to reinstall the other bolts. Just hand tighten them. I'm not going to crank them down until I'm pretty confident that everything lines up the way that it should, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I was able to provide a little bit of sunlight in here. So I'll just show you where the bolt locations are. So here's one bolt location, second bolt location, and then the third bolt location is, I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually just below this first bolt location here. So just right below there. So this door panel has one more bolt location, and it's right here. So we're going to install the last bolt, and then we're going to move on to the second panel. So as you can see, that's all we did, is we just exposed the bolts by removing this skirt, just the two screws. The center screws, you can leave them in place, and then the same thing for the other side, and that just covers up your piston for your motor and your air compressor. So just to give you a general idea of what's going on the inside. Okay, so now all I did was just hand tighten the bolts on this side and then reconnected the blue hose to the air supply line. So it just looks like that. So once everything's done, it'll just fold up like that and it won't be exposed. So we'll move on to the second panel. Okay, what I failed to mention is that these shorter bolts, they're a little bit shorter than the other bolts. You can see the difference in size here. The shorter bolts are actually for the side. You'll see a little tab here, and the bolt will go through that and into the side panel. And obviously they just need to be a little bit shorter because they're not maintaining any weight. The longer bolts are going through, if you can see, the frame and then into the side of the door panel. So they need to be a little bit longer to make that transition. So that's one of the things. Okay, just to show you the reinstalled panel, here's your white tube coming from your door panel, and you would just want to connect that right back to your air supply. That's what the panel looks like reinstalled for the Best Massage model BM-EC77. Now I'm only showing you this because, like I said before, there were no videos. They showed a couple videos, but they weren't for this model. This model is unique. It doesn't have the I guess the remote coming out of the arm like the newer models, but it's still selling pretty good. So I mean, obviously people are still buying them, still need to know how to take them apart to get them in doorways. So